There aren't very many downsides to being a dog owner, but one of the questions that frustrated pet parents often ask themselves is, why do dogs shed so much? Shedding is a normal process for nearly all mammals. Obviously, we shed hair from our head. Our skin cells shed. We do lose our small hairs on our body. You just don't notice them because they're so tiny. It's a natural process, but we lose a little bit of hair here and there, a strand here, a strand there. Dogs, there are times when, for some breeds, it comes out literally in clumps. So why do dogs shed so much? Well, when it comes to dogs, the amount of fur that they shed depends on a lot of different factors. One of the biggest ones is breeds. Some dogs shed more than others, and no matter what you hear, there aren't any dog breeds that do not shed at all. If a dog has hair, they're going to shed, just like humans. You wouldn't necessarily say that we shed in the same term that we use for dogs, but we definitely lose hair throughout the day, and all dogs do. There are definitely some dogs that don't shed very much. They lose hair like humans. You might find a piece here or there, but they don't shed in the traditional sense that we think of, dogs shedding, where those floofy clumps of hair are just kind of flying everywhere. So as long as a dog has hair, he's going to shed. Why do some dogs shed so much, and why do some dogs shed more than others? You may even be wondering why your dog sheds more during certain times of the year, certain seasons. Normal shedding aids in skin health and helps to get rid of old and damaged hair that's in the coat. During some times of the year, it's also the body's way of getting rid of unneeded hair. Did you know that a dog's coat not only protects their skin, but it also insulates their internal organs from cold and heat, and it helps to regulate their body temperature? So their coat is very important, which means it's very important to keep their skin and coat healthy. It's an important part of their body and needs to be kept in good shape. So excessive shedding can be a sign that you're not doing what you need to do to be keeping their coat healthy. You should always keep an eye on your dog to observe their normal shedding pattern. So puppies, it's a little bit different because their coat in some breeds changes as they grow and develop. But once your dog becomes an adult, it's time to start watching, observing, is it he shedding every spring? Is he shedding every fall? Are there times of the year he sheds more? Or is he pretty much, there's a little bit of shedding all the time, but never really excessive? Those are the things to watch out for. And this will allow you to tell if he sheds more, like I said, during certain times of the year. Make an informed decision. If for some reason, your dog typically sheds about the same amount all year long, but now he's excessively shedding, what's going on? And you can start looking at some things to see if you can figure out why that's happening. The amount that a dog sheds varies on his breed, coat type, health condition, and a number of other factors. There are a few reasons why your dog might be shedding excessively. As I mentioned, some dogs are seasonal shedders. They grow thicker coats during the colder months, and then they shed that unneeded fur as it starts to warm up. Typically, seasonal shedding will happen from early summer through early fall. So think about, that time when it starts to get warm, and then, they start to hang on to that fur once things start to cool down a little bit. So in those months, maybe like mid to late June, July, August especially, and maybe going into September, but mid to late September, it's starting to cool down and your dog is starting to keep some of that fur to get ready for the colder months. Some breeds shed excessively due to their genetics. Breeds like Labradors, I have one, I can definitely vouch for that. German Shepherds, Corgis are another one. They have a thick undercoat, and that needs to be shed regularly. So while you notice that your dog is going to be shedding more seasonally because they are getting rid of that fur that they've accumulated to help them in the cold months, they are shedders year round. So you're going to notice a fair amount of shedding year round, and then some peak times. But for the most part, they're going to be shedders all the time. This is just one reason why it's so important to research the dog breed that you're considering before adoption. Heavy shedding dogs will require more grooming than some other breeds. So keep that in mind if you're looking for a dog or you know someone that is, mention that grooming needs, that's a requirement, a time-consuming requirement, I should say. And if you can't do it yourself, it's going to be an expensive requirement because you're going to have to go to the groomers to get that that taken care of. So be aware of that. And, when you're thinking about that, or someone is thinking about a dog, make sure you mention the coat type is definitely something to consider. Poor diet is one of the most common reasons, unfortunately, that a dog may be shedding more than normal. The health of your dog's skin and coat are directly related to his nutrition. A proper diet and appropriate hydration are essential for keeping hair follicles healthy. So that's one thing that a lot of pet owners don't think about. That is a sign of dehydration, that your dog isn't getting enough water. But most importantly, it's usually a sign of improper nutrition. So if you notice that your dog's coat is looking dry and brittle, if he's excessively shedding more than normal, you want to make sure that you're taking a look at his diet. What is he eating? Make sure he's getting balanced nutrition. There's some healthy fats in there, things like fish oil, coconut oil. Those can help with skin and coat health, but it's definitely a good sign that his diet may not be exactly what he needs. Another common reason for why dogs shed so much is stress. A change in your dog's daily routine could be enough to cause excess shedding. If you've recently moved or you've brought in a new family member, whether a furry or a human family member, that may be the cause of your dog's spontaneous shedding. So think about some of the things that are going on, changes in the environment, changes in your family. For example, we had a daughter who went off to college a couple of years ago, and when she was at home much less than she was before, our dogs had a reaction to that. That was a big change for them, that one of their kids was no longer here every day. So things like that, try to think about it. Remove the stressor if it's possible, but obviously if it's like a new family member coming in, it's not something that you can remove, but be sure to establish a consistent routine and a schedule so that your dog can adjust a little bit more quickly. If you are doing something like bringing in a new person or a new animal into your home, make sure that your dog isn't getting left out. A lot of times if you adopt a kitten or a puppy, or maybe a significant other's moving in, or you've brought home a new baby, those things can be quite time consuming and take some of the time that maybe you used to be spending with your dog playing fetch or going for daily walks or what have you. So be sure that just evaluate what's going on, what's changed in the environment, how can you make that better for your dog and maybe make that transition a little bit easier for him. And finally, I did touch on this briefly, but a health issue could be the reason for excess shedding as well. Allergies, hormonal imbalances, parasites, skin diseases, those could all be causes of unexplained shedding. So if your dog typically isn't a shedder, or maybe it's the dead of winter and he doesn't typically shed much during winter time, and you notice all of a sudden this sporadic excessive shedding, that could be a sign that something's wrong health-wise. More serious ailments, cancer, kidney disease, heart conditions, while those are unlikely, those could also cause your dog to shed more than normal. So if you've gone through this list and nothing's really changed in the environment, and your dog's diet, you're feeding a great quality pet food, you've talked to your vet about that, and his nutrition is on point, that kind of stuff, you kind of checked everything else off the list, it's definitely a good idea to consult your veterinarian. Let them know what you're going on. Hey, I observed this, it's wintertime, my dog doesn't usually shed very much, or maybe your dog doesn't shed very much ever. Typically they're a pretty mild shedder, and now all of a sudden, their fur is coming out in clumps. Something's wrong. See your vet. They can help you figure out what it is. It's something that's going to be simple, like a skin disease or hormonal changes, things that can be corrected with medication. It could be allergies, and it might take a little bit longer to figure that out, but they can definitely get you on the right track and get that stuff moving forward so you can find out what's the problem and how can you treat it, because you need to treat the root problem. If you're thinking like, oh, my dog's losing some fur, or his coat is really dry and brittle, maybe I'll try some fish oil, maybe I'll try some coconut oil, that might help with the condition of his skin and his coat. But if there's an underlying health condition, you're not treating the root problem. So you're still going to have that issue and probably more severe issues down the road.